We're recording. So, welcome to the April team call. I'm so excited to be here with everyone that's here today because we're going to talk all about recovery tips and carb loading tips. And this is going to come from you guys because we're stronger together, like I've said a few times before I hit recording as we were waiting for people to join the call. And I think we can all learn from each other. And I definitely have my go-tos of things that I love, things that I don't necessarily think move the needle. But at the end of the day, if you have suggestions and ideas for the team, I also want to hear that because I think it's a great way to like support each other too and kind of bond as a team. So I'm going to quickly go down through the list of people here and just give everyone a shout out for what they are racing for this spring. Okay, so we have Ashley, and Ashley has Mountains to Beach next weekend. Hi, Ashley. Thanks for being here. Totally appreciate you and your time. And then we have Brooke Bentley and Brooks from Denver area, and Brooke has a trail race coming up in May. And then we have Ellie. Ellie has a 1 mile time trial tomorrow who we're in her season of speed, which I think is really fun. She ran the Houston Marathon, and now we're going to get really, really, really fast before going into maybe a half or marathon later. Half for sure, right? Is it Indy? Am I remembering that right? Indy? Yeah. Everyone's running Indy. Everyone is running Indy. If you want a team race this fall, you need to be in Indianapolis on November 7th. It is a fast course. It's where I've had breakthroughs in the half and the marathon by like a large chunk of time, 3.5 minutes in the half, 8-minute PR in the marathon. It's my second fastest marathon. Indy's great. It's the best. There's a bunch of people going, so chances are my face is going to be in Indy, whether I'm racing or not this fall. And then we have Jessie. Oh my gosh, Jessie just crushed a 5K, and she's coming back into racing after about taking a year off. And then she has a half marathon coming up in June, which is exciting. And then we have Joe. Welcome, Joe. He's joining us from a hotel room, it looks like. Joe just crushed a 5K last weekend. He has a half coming up here in a few months. You need to send me that race. And
I'm down to three. We'll finalize it soon.
Okay, good. And then Joe registered for the Indy Marathon. So yay. And then we have Michael on the call, and Michael is going to be crushing the Eugene half here in a few weeks. We have Nicole from San Diego, who's running the Cherry Blossom 10 miler this weekend. We have Nicole, the other Nicole from Denver, who's running Boston in less than 2 weeks, which is super exciting. And then we have Will from Denver on the call, and Will is shooting his shot at the Colorado Half Marathon, which is in less than 4 weeks. It's going to be exciting. So everyone here has races on your calendar. You have races on your schedule. So carb loading and recovery, super, super, super important while we're in training, because these are huge 1%ers that are going to help move the needle when we're trying to get faster, when we're trying to get stronger, and we are looking to kind of reach our potential in running. It's very, very easy to say, I'm just going to follow the training plan and not do anything outside of running. I coach a lot of runners, and like strength training is like the first thing to go for most people, and then sleep, and then like good nutrition, eating enough, like it's like a domino effect, right? Because I get it. It's like if you focus in on everything, it can be like super overwhelming, right? But if we can just focus on taking a look at our own training, taking a look at what we're doing, what we're not doing, and say, okay, where's the low-hanging fruit here? What's going to move the needle the most? I can't really focus in on everything. I recently saw a reel with Ed Eyestone, who's the coach at BYU. He also coaches Connor Mins and Clayton Young. We love those guys. And he was talking about how like you can get 98% of your training or 98% of your fitness and training and doing some of the 1%ers. But if you're trying to squeeze out everything and do everything that you can possibly do in training, that's usually when things tip over, right? So like 98% is great. What is 98%? It's training, it's being consistent, it's recovering, it's making sure you're eating enough. And then probably strength training in there too, which I know you guys don't want to hear. I get it. I don't, it's not my favorite either. I have to like actually schedule myself in classes. Otherwise it doesn't happen. So unless your name is Nicole, and you live in, well, both Nicoles actually are like super big into strength training. Very, very inspiring. Okay. So I want to share my screen because I just have like a little, you guys are used to like a really big presentation. We're not doing that. Oops, sorry. We're not going to do that today. But here's a little something something that I put together. Okay, so I love this. Oh my gosh. There we go. Present. Full screen. All right, so I love this photo. This photo is Heather and Rachel. They're both local athletes. Rachel's part of the Wednesday night crew, and she's running the Colfax Half Marathon on May 17th. And Heather, who's in the pink, is like days away from giving birth to her first baby, which is very exciting. But this is them at the Colorado Half Marathon 2 years ago. And I thought it was a cute photo, so I threw it in there for the presentation today. Okay, so before we even, talk about the best things that we can do, something that has been coming up in a lot of the one-on-one conversations that I've been having with athletes, whether it's on our calls or over WhatsApp, is the mindset. If you believe you can, or if you believe you can't, you're right. So I have people lining up for 26.2 miles in a few weeks who don't believe they can do it. And their fitness is there, but their mind is telling them that they can't. And what I know to be true, I've seen it time and time again as a coach, and I've also been in this position as an athlete. Like wherever you fall on that category or that line of mindset and strength, you're totally right. My best races have come from when I'm excited, when I know I can, and I'm running relaxed, and it's a really great time. And some of my worst performing in terms of outcome races have been when I've been timid, scared, unsure, and that reflects directly in how I run. So I really, really want the mindset to be there. So believe that you can. I only program workouts that I know you can do. I only give you paces that I know you can do. And I'm also going to be the first one to tell you if I feel like, ooh, this might be a little bit of a stretch right now. And here's the reasons why. So you're always going to hear it from me straight. So if I'm telling you you can, you better believe you can. And it's going to be a great day for race day and in training. All right. So I want to jump into carb loading best practices and ideas. So first, I want to just quickly run through what is carb loading. So carb loading is when we fuel our muscles with glycogen, which comes from carbohydrates. And this isn't only something that you can do right before your race. I actually encourage a lot of the athletes, and sometimes it gets thrown into Final Surge as like a note when I'm seeing like there's like a discrepancy in how they're showing up in their long runs versus their workouts, where we practice carbo loading on a Friday before going into a Saturday long run. I think this is a great idea. You not only train your stomach, you also show up feeling really strong for your long run workout, and you also figure out what works and what doesn't work with carb loading. I had a woman in Denver do this last week, and she was like, I was really full and uncomfortable. So I said, well, send over like what did you eat? She tracked everything. Turns out her fat intake was so high. She nailed the carbs, but her fat intake was like as much grams of fat as she took in protein, and her protein was like spot on. So she just took in way too much fat. So we're going to pull the fat back, and we're going to see if she feels better this week as she has a 10K tune-up. So it can come with a lot of benefits, because the last thing we want to do is figure out that our carb load didn't work on race day. That's like not the day that you want that to happen. So, so for the half marathon, you could think about it in 1 to 1.5 days. I think that's super fair. I usually like, let's say if a half marathon's on a Sunday, I'll start with like Friday night dinner and then all day Saturday and then Sunday before the race. And I still will take gels every 5K in the half marathon. I don't care what influencer out there saying you don't need to take gels in the half marathon. There's no upside of doing that, right? Like you're only putting yourself in a deficit. If you've trained your stomach well enough, you should be able to take a gel every 5K and feel really strong in the half marathon. And then for the marathon, there's a lot of science that's showing 2 days over the course of like 2 days before your race. If you focus on glucose and fructose, especially on race morning, the typical carbo load for the marathon is 3 days, and that's going to be 3 to 5 grams of carbs per body pound per day. You could start at 3 and kind of work your way up to 5. At this point in my journey in the marathon, I'm going into marathon number 9 this fall. I'm getting closer to 5 grams, but it's a balancing act because you don't want to be full. You don't want to be like bloated. You just want to be like content, if that makes sense. So it takes a lot of time. So if it's something you haven't done before, start on the lower end. Start at 3, start at 2. If you're like tracking and you're like, oh, whoa, I've been like really underestimating how much I've been eating. Just start and do something more than what you have been doing. That's kind of the best. And then for the 5K, 10K, I would say just focus on eating well, staying hydrated, and then just have like a hearty dinner the night before the race. I think that that's like super appropriate. You don't need to go overboard in those races. So does anyone, I'd love to hear like from the team, some of your best practices when it's come to carbo loading for a local or a travel race, any foods that you really love, because that's something I get a lot of from athletes. And we've had registered dietitians come on these monthly calls and give their whole spiel on like the foods that work, the foods that don't work. So we're looking for a lot of simple carbs. We're looking for breads and pastas and fruit juices like orange juice, grapefruit juice, things like that. And then kind of pulling back the fat quite a bit because the fat is going to reduce the absorption of the carbs into your muscles, and you're not going to get exactly the same benefit. You're also probably, you could have GI issues depending on what type of fat you took in and how much fiber is in that fat. So it's a balancing act. So simple is better, but I'd love to open the floor up and hear from you guys on like what works for you.
I love nerd clusters. I get the regular size bag, and if you eat the
Yeah.
whole bag, it's like 200 grams of carbs. So you just start with your first meal of the day, and you just like pop them all day, like throughout the day, and it's an easy way to get 200 grams of carbs, and it doesn't feel too daunting. I feel like that's part of it too. Is like sometimes like if like I'll try to do 3 Eggos, and it's just like it just feels like a lot of food at once.
Yeah.
So I like nerd clusters. Another thing I started doing is like on my recovery runs, like leading into my long run day, is I will take a handheld of like my tailwind. So I'm getting another 50 grams, and then also just helping not like lose a ton of fluid or carbs while I'm on the run, and it still like counts towards my total.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. Nerd clusters are all the rage. I'm pretty sure they're trending on TikTok. I wouldn't know. I don't have a TikTok account. I mean, I do have a TikTok account, but I'm not on it. And I mean, people are digging it. And I think it's one of those things that it has to work for you, right? So if you're like, oh, whoa, that's a lot of sugar, it's like, well, one, yes, but two, your body is also burning through a ton of sugar if you are racing a half and you're racing a marathon. So, like, also, that's fine. but also know your body and kind of know what works and what doesn't work for you. I've had athletes carry potatoes with them on long runs and like use that as part of like their fueling strategy during a run. So everyone's really, really different in this area, but the candy, they're essentially like a pack of chews, right? Like scratch chews, something like that. It's kind of the same thing. So like being able to like just take a handful here and there, and then all of a sudden you're at 200 grams already. This is a huge, huge, huge up level for sure. What else?
Feel like I don't do anything too revolutionary, but just like every meal, right? It's like looking at your plate, right? It's you're in the like 50% or so carbs. So whether that's like the main thing of the morning is like the bagel sandwich and you're having a bagel, or right, extra bread on your sandwich at lunch, a bunch of rice in your bowl for dinner. So I feel like main meals, it's pretty easy to like throw in right a good hearty dose of carbs. I think it's
Mhm.
little things that you do throughout the day that really help you add in those extra grams. And yeah, I really like to lean into the liquids. It's like you mentioned juice, or the orange juice in the morning, or like extra excuse to have more cherry juice.
Mhm.
Yeah, like maybe, you whip up a glass of scratch. Whatever carb mixes, right, that we have on hand. So I feel like the liquids really help to increase the carbs, but yeah, not have the extra fullness feeling.
For
Um,
sure.
and yeah, I like, in a spreadsheet or a note or something, like just have ideas. So like a cup of this is this, and then I can kind of like mix and match and like just, so you're kind of mentally tracking or have a plan ahead of time of how much all these things that you have on hand, whatever, equate to in grams of carbs, so that you're like not
Mhm.
guessing at the end of the day. You kind of have an idea that you're on track. So yeah, the planning out and math ahead of time is like super helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ellie, I do that. I do that too almost for all my practices is I always have a plan or at least like the list down of like what I'm gonna eat. And like I literally just do it in my notes and then I just like do the check mark next to it, knowing that I did it for the day. And then that way you like you said, you're not guessing. And if something doesn't happen, like you have like snack backups of equivalent carbs or whatever. But just having that list and plans really I like that a lot too.
For sure. It's super intentional and it's really helpful. It's helpful to know what you're doing now in training. It's helpful to see, like, okay, as we progress through training and the training load intensifies and it gets longer, there's more miles, there's more work, there's more miles within the workout. Carbs have to increase as well, right? Do you ever have like those weeks where you're like, I'm exhausted? And it's like, oh, right, because like training's higher, it's demanding more from me. I need to give more energy. And therefore, my nutrition also has to change with that. It has to flow through that. And so, kind of knowing how you're showing up during a typical training day is super important. And then how you're showing up like the day before a long run workout, how you're showing up during that workout, the long run is so, so beneficial because come race week, there's a lot going on, even though you're not running a lot there, especially if you're traveling to a race, you're packing, you want to make sure you have everything that you need. And the carbo load can sometimes be kind of put on the back burner because it's like, well, I'll just get to it when I get to it on Thursday or Friday or whatever day you're doing it or beginning it. And then it can become more work than it needs to be. It can be so easy. Like coconut water is another great like drink that includes electrolytes. So you're kind of like having a win-win there. And what I love about Ashley writing everything down is like she literally, hopefully you don't mind me sharing this, Ashley.
No.
She will like literally, maybe it's a copy and paste, but she puts in Final Surge, she will write like her notes of like how the run went, how she felt, how her legs, lungs, mindset felt. And then she drops in everything she ate before her run, during her long run, how much fluid, how much electrolytes, how many gels, the carbohydrates with the gels. So I'm not guessing, especially if it's a gel I don't know. And it's all laid out there for me. So I can see like, oh, okay, she's like really getting this done. Or, hey, we could probably throw in one extra gel or something like that. So it's really great. It's nice to have all that information. And I think if you don't know that about yourself, that is definitely an area of growth for you as an athlete this year, of understanding what you're consuming during the day, during training days, and also what you're consuming the day before a hard effort and then the day of a hard effort. And those recovery days, which get to be about the same. Okay, cool. What else? Any tips, tricks, anything that you're like, this works so well? Go ahead, John. Hi.
I'll jump in. Sorry. Thanks for letting me join. It's late. So one of the things that I've done is I like Kodiak cakes a lot, and they're just really easy. And I know I think they might even have some gluten-free options, but for me, I can just make a bunch and then just add those throughout the day. And so I know I'm getting a little extra protein for sure, but also obviously some carbs. The other one that I use a lot is Hammer Nutrition has a not just a protein drink, recovery drink, but it has and I think Scratch has a similar thing too. And that's a good liquid calorie for me that I'll add not as recovery, but as carb loading.
Cool. Love it. And I went through the list, John, of everyone who's here and gave them a shout out for the race that they're running. So everyone, this is John, and he's running Boston in 13 days.
Right. 13
right?
days.
Woo! A little under 2 weeks. It's going to be great. Yeah. And so I think that's a great idea, like setting yourself up for success with maybe those carbs that also have like a little bit of extra protein in them. I know they make gluten-free oats for our gluten-free runners, like Bob's Red Mill oats that anyone can eat, but they also have it with added protein, which is great. And at Whole Foods this weekend, I saw gluten-free cinnamon rolls. So for our gluten-free, which I think might just be me and Melody on the team. I don't know if anyone else, and Melody's not on this call, but like, I think out of the entire team, I think it is just me and Melody. It's a big deal to have a gluten-free cinnamon roll. So like, for sure that is getting added in to my training at some point, which is really exciting. But I think, if you're someone who can tracking is going to be huge. Tracking on an app, tracking on a spreadsheet, because I think one of the most surprising things that happen with someone who has never tracked before is thinking that they're getting enough. And when they actually put everything down that they have within a day, they realize that they're underfueling. And underfueling is one of the biggest, I would say, issues in our sport of, running is such a high energy demanding sport, and we're not giving our body enough of the carbohydrates and the protein that it really demands for us to be able to run and feel really, really strong. I think it's not just about the carbo loading too. I think it's also really important that we're taking enough gels during our long runs. And I know, people are like, I don't know. It just feels like there's a little bit of a pushback on this, but like, I only feel my best when I'm taking a 40 gram carb gel, like every 30 minutes. That's 80 grams an hour. So if I'm out there for 2.5 hours, I'm taking in 200 grams of carbohydrates, but I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling capable, and I'm getting it done. And it also has really good recovery benefits when you're kind of looking at like the long run part of it. What else? Do you feel like works? Maybe carb loading in terms of food, drinks, or travel? Because I know we have a lot of people who travel to races, and the travel day is always really tough, in my opinion.
One random drink that I remember I used 2 years ago. It's been so long since I've run a marathon, but I remember 2 years ago
You'll get back there, Joe.
I hope so. If my body holds up, but
You will.
pomegranate juice was one I remember. I hit a
Oh.
lot. I think like it's got like 34 grams of carbs and 8 ounces. So like 12 ounces was like 50 there. So I remember I did that a lot. And
Yeah.
then some of the smoothie places, I remember,
That's a good one too.
I would go on their nutritional menu. They've got some that are like over 100 grams of carbs for, some smoothies that aren't too huge. So I remember I used those a couple times. I'm very new at this, but those were two things that I remember using a while back.
Yeah. Those are all great suggestions too. And scoping things out. I think, especially with travel, like I always look around for the restaurants that I can eat and like eat at and where I want to go and make reservations and just be really, really intentional about it, especially for those traveling to like Boston. Like that's something that like if you want a sit down dinner the night before, like make it early and make the reservation now, so you are well fed and set yourself up for success. You can wing it, but it's one of those things that is so within our control. The last thing you want is like wandering around, time on feet, trying to find a place to eat the night before your race. That's like the last thing you want. Does anyone have any questions about carb loading, whether it's, before your race, before a long run workout, or that intra run fueling kind of during, a race or a long run itself with gels?
I guess my question, what is not so much carbs, but what is too much fat or too much, like what should the protein goal be while you're carb? Because I was only looking at carbs. I don't think I looked at protein or fat, and could I have taken too much?
Yeah, so I think the carbohydrate level should be around like, if you're targeting the 3 to 5 grams of carbs per body pound per day, it's going to be pretty high, right? So like maybe your carbohydrate percentage is around 60%, maybe even a little bit higher than that. Protein should stay pretty even. So protein should stay between 25 and 30%. So there's not a lot of room left for fat. So I typically try to reduce as much fat as possible to leave room for carbohydrates and protein. That's so fun. Nicole's on her tune-up pasta. Okay. And Nicole's like, Nicole's racing this weekend. Okay, great. So I think, really trying to keep it under 10%, which is low, I think is try it and see how you feel. Because a lot of times when we feel fatigued in training, if we're saying, but Coach Sarah, I take in all the carbs, chances are your protein is too low and you're not getting enough protein. And that's why you're feeling a little slumpy. And you could just be overcompensating for fat.
When you say percents, might be a dumb question, but percent, like what is it? Because I keep thinking of like grams or, per body weight. Like when you say, I think my carbs would be like, I don't know, 600 plus grams, but how much protein? I didn't understand the percent breakdown.
Yeah. So it's like, it's based off of macros, right? So like everyone's so different. I can't say, oh, Joe, you would have 300 grams of protein, but typically rule of thumb with protein, if you're not looking at macros, is like, now I'm not a registered dietitian. So it's like 1 to 1.5, 1.2 of your body pound of body pounds. So like if you weigh 130 pounds, and I'm not saying you do, if you're weighing 130 pounds, like 130 grams of protein or maybe a little bit more, something like that. And I'm not exactly sure because I'm not a registered dietitian and this isn't like, I'm a running coach and this isn't my like expertise. But I think when you look at the overall amount of like your macro breakdown, it should kind of be, there we go, 1.8 to 2. Oh, but kilograms, Nicole, that one throws me off. I always go by body pound. I hate the kilograms because like, who knows? Okay, just really quickly, who knows what they weigh in kilograms? I have no idea.
Roughly, yeah.
Do you?
Just cut it
Okay.
in half, cut it in half and add a little bit.
That's
to it.
yeah, that's what I was going to say the same thing. Just like whatever your weight is divided by 2 is roughly pretty dang close.
Roughly.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess that's a good rule of thumb. Yeah. So about 1.8 to 2 grams per kilogram.
Which is like 1
Wet.
gram per
So then you
pound,
think
like-
1 gram per.
That's about 1.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes athletic or endurance athletes need a little bit more, right? Especially I think if you're female, you definitely need more. I had a podcast with Megan Featherston like probably 14, 15 months ago, where she came on and talked all about protein needs for the master runners. Yeah, so that is for runners, not normal people. Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, so like I think staying within that band or kind of within that range is a great idea. But again, everyone is so specific. You have to play around with this. You have to like see what works, what doesn't work for you, for sure. No, John, we're not normal. I don't know if you guys are reading the comments. Nicole's on her run and she's like, she helps runners with their nutrition. She's like a nutrition coach. I think that's what I can call her. And okay, so Nicole says that she wants to add that she loves going to a Thai restaurant and ordering extra white rice when traveling for a race. Eat fewer of the vegetables, right? Fiber. We don't want as much fiber. And don't do spicy, but it's a nice alternative to the pasta and carbs for sure, or pasta and bread. Yeah. So 1.8 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight, ideally for protein. So now you know your carbs. Now you know your protein. There's not a whole lot left for fat. Fat should be minimal, but play around with it. See what works, see what doesn't work for you. Everyone's very, very different in this category. For sure. Anything else?
Sarah, I know there's a couple runners I know who swear by eating sushi the night before.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah. And so like, so and again, it's like you get there's a fair amount of fat in there. So omega-3s, but
It
not like
depends.
not a huge amount, right?
Yeah, because I'm gluten-free, so I can only eat the very basic rolls. So I can eat like a salmon roll, so that's like healthy fat, right?
Yeah.
I can eat like veggie rolls, a little bit of fiber. But I might save my fat for those rolls, and I'm not having much fat at all, throughout the course of the day. But sushi is awesome. Sushi's great. You get the rice, you get really clean protein. Just go to a place that's legit, because the last thing you want, you are kind of like rolling the dice a little bit on food poisoning, but just go to a legit place. Yeah. Yeah.
I would agree. And the only thing I wanted to add, there's a lot of people you think about like white rice and brown rice.
Yeah.
And specifically for this purpose, you want white rice, right?
You do.
Because it's gonna help. It's not gonna have that extra fiber and stuff, which is typically you want, but you don't want the night before. So
yeah, for sure. Like the simple carbohydrates are a better avenue over complex carbohydrates. I think the closer you get to race day. So keep it simple the day before: breads, bagels, pastas, Thai, sushi. Could also it can be fun. It can totally be fun.
I have 2 little kids, so I found too that just the snacks, like the Nutri-Game bars or like Nature Bakery bars are high. The Belvita, like crackers, graham crackers, just the things that my kids love to eat on a daily basis tend to be good, like grab and goes. I have a couple of those in my purse when I'm out running my errands for whatever I'm doing with practices or whatever. So I make sure I'm not getting too far behind, because you kind of have to eat all day. You're carb loading.
100%. Yeah. That's kind of how it feels, right? Yeah. Right. So Nicole is saying she should clarify it's day to day. Everything that we're talking about is day to day. Like the carbohydrate load, the protein load, that's every day. Every day. out over the course of a week or 3 days. Yeah, I think the packaged goods are like interesting because they can contain a lot of extra fat, at least for like the gluten-free foods. They're so processed, which, processed foods are fine, but like if you're really trying to limit the fat and you're getting 7, 8, 9, 10 grams of fat per serving of the packaged things, you really kind of want to just make sure you're not overdoing it in the fat department for sure. But it's a great option if you're like, well, this is what I have. Okay, let's move on to recovery best practices. There are 2 ways to recover: active versus passive recovery. And active is where you are actively recovering. And that can be something like going for a recovery run. That's so easy that you feel better after you finish your run, or you don't, depending on where you are in the training cycle, you don't feel worse at the end of the run. And that can be a huge recovery benefit. A lot of times athletes run too fast, too hard all the time, and it's really hard to recover when you do that. But you can take some of your recovery runs and use them as like a way to recover. Just run really, really slow, and you feel a lot better. And what does really, really slow mean? Well, it's all based on effort, but it should be slower than what a typical like easy pace is for you. So a lot of times when I'm in heavy training, that might look like 30 seconds slower than a typical run, because I'm just out there trying to get the miles in as slow as possible, to recover through that run. Has anyone had experience with that and like feel the benefits of it?
Yeah, motion is lotion.
That's right.
For sure.
Yeah, it totally is. And like, as much as, sometimes when we're coming off of like a hard effort, like like a 20-mile long run, we're just like, oh, the next day we're like, do we have to run? It's like sometimes we'll feel a lot better once we do go for that run. And the first mile or two might not feel great, but you'll eventually like warm up into it. I think anytime there's runs where there's a day or two back to back where you're like, this just feels terrible, you're not recovering through the run. And so that's something I always need to know for sure, because that means we got to change something. Now, passive recovery could be sleep. Sleep is the number one recovery tool, and it's something that you can do every single night without like thinking about it, right? You're just going to bed. I think there can be an active component to it because we want to be intentional with our sleep when we kind of get into like our big training weeks and when we get into taper and especially race week, to make sure that we are recovering to the best of our abilities through our sleep. And that's going to look a little bit different for everyone. I know there's people on the call that get 4 or 5 hours and that a night and that works for them. And there's people on the call that get closer to 8, 8.5, 9 hours, and that really works well for them. So I think it's like taking a look at what you have and what you're doing and just try to do a little bit better than that. So like it could be like 20, 30 minutes of more sleep per night, which means just going to bed that much earlier, or trying to, depending on, your morning, and everyone's morning routine is different. So this is going to depend on everyone, like when you can wake up and what that looks like. And if you have a little bit more room to give. What's nice for morning runners is typically the morning or the week of your race week, you're not running as much. So you theoretically could be able to sleep a little bit longer. But it all depends on family and everything like that. So I'd love to hear from you guys on your best practices when it comes to recovery, whether that's in a big training week, after a big training run, going into a race, or what you do after a race.
Oh, I know you'll agree with this, Sarah, but having a dog is a great way of doing active recovery because it forces you to get out and walk a couple of times.
Yeah. For sure. I know. If anyone saw my week in the life post, my life is pretty busy, and a lot of it's because I have a very active dog, and Will knows that. Will, you also have a pretty active dog, don't you?
She
Ish.
sleeps 20 hours a day, but she needs her good walks in.
Yeah, it keeps him young. It keeps him young. Okay, what else? We love the dog walks.
I just had a question on how to get good sleep because that seems to be my problem. And then I wake up like not refreshed. That was kind of my question.
Hmm. Does anyone have any ideas on that?
I have the similar issue I've talked about that sleep is my non-modifiable recovery tool. That like I just have too many kids to ever
You do.
to ever sleep, and yeah, it's weird though. If I force myself to exercise in the morning, like I feel good until like dinner time, then I kind of hit a wall. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know, Mike. Are you? I mean, do you have? Is there anything keeping you up, or you just sleep and are just not refreshed?
Anxiety probably, but also like just that's generally like just how I've been my whole life. So like I do have a dog that loves to sleep right next to me, touching me. That kind of bothers me, I think, a little bit. But there's nothing I can't really. I try my best to stop him from doing that, but you know, he likes to cuddle for some reason.
I think that's a good compliment, though. I think one of the things that I've noticed a huge improvement in my sleep when I'm intentional with it is turning the screens off about an hour before I go to bed. So that's TV and phone. And that makes a huge difference in my deep sleep, my REM sleep, and my light sleep. And like if your watch is tracking all of it, I think it's always a little skewed because sometimes it'll be like, oh, you woke up 4 times during the night. Now, I don't really remember that. So did I wake up? Or like the nights where I know I've woken up and maybe I go to the bathroom or maybe I get a drink of water, like, and it doesn't track that I woke up, then I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But I think if you can try to reduce like screen time before you go to bed, that's super helpful. I play music when I sleep. It's like more like meditation music, and that really helps me stay asleep. And there's a bunch of different playlists on Spotify. You could also set it just for an hour on Spotify, which is nice. So that can help. And sometimes journaling about the things that are on your mind before you go to bed, like even if journaling's like a trigger word, like you could just write down the things that are on your mind, or like, you know, in my case, a lot of time I'm like thinking about athletes and like things that they're going through and like maybe things that have come up during the day. And it's like I'm trying to like think through how to solve whatever's going on. And sometimes just writing it down and being like, hey, I see you, I acknowledge this, to myself. Like, I know this is something I want to do, but it's going to be there for tomorrow, is a big needle mover too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently, Mike, do you drink coffee? I recently dropped caffeine altogether because I've had sleeping problems. And it has like helped a little bit at nighttime. That's kind of one thing where I feel like I do feel better in the morning and maybe fall asleep a little easier. But also I remember I used to do the Headspace app a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Years ago, and I do like 5 to 10 minutes a day, and that just meditating a little bit in the daytime did actually help me sleep a little more refreshing at night. But I've fallen away from that with too many kids again.
Understand.
I'll add one of the things that I've found in the last few months is magnesium. So I've tried lots of different sleep aids,
Right.
and gone through like I tried some serotonin, or like not serotonin, melatonin, and that one didn't work for me. I know that some people that's great, but for me it kind of wired me. So, but I found a good magnesium supplement that has absolutely helped my sleep. And I don't know if that just meant that my magnesium was not balanced or whatever, but that one was a like big game changer for me. Also, just picking up a book and even reading for like 5 minutes right before bed, just to reset my brain for that too.
For sure, for sure. Like the magnesium for sure works. I mean, people like on the local team, like when we're running Wednesday nights, we've moved practice up a little bit earlier to accommodate like people getting home, having dinner, and they're wired, and it's really hard for them to get a good night of sleep. And it's like a really important night of sleep because you just ran a really tough workout. And they've like some of the runners have found, and John's one of them, like the magnesium aspect in like drinking an element that has magnesium or taking a magnesium supplement has helped them sleep better. And if you're in high training, if you're waking up hungry, either in the middle of the night or in the morning, that can also impact your sleep. And I've noticed that like when I have more to eat for dinner, like last week, the team did these like bowls after practice, which was so nice because my Wednesdays are insane. And like, I might have like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on my way home from like practice with like a protein shake, and that's it. And I've run like, I don't know, 12 or 15 miles that day. And like we had these huge bowls, and I probably had, well, also practice went really well, but I had one of the best nights of sleep on a Wednesday night in a really long time. And I think some of it was definitely from like giving my body what it wanted when it comes to food and fuel. So play around with it, Mike. See what works, see what doesn't work. Kind of notice trends.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
What?
I'll let you know how it
Oh,
goes.
yeah. Okay, cool. Great. What else? How else do we recover from our big workouts, our big training weeks, our big races? How are we recovering?
I'll jump in again. Sarah, you've probably seen this in Final Surge, but I moved my strength training to Mondays, which is typically my day off. And I did that, I don't know, like 4 or 5 weeks ago because I wasn't able to get the strength done on Saturday or Sunday. And I've stuck with it. I didn't do it yesterday, but I've stuck with it because it has helped me feel available for the next day. It's just, again, I'm not lifting heavy. It's a lot of body weight, a few kettlebells, but it just is moving my muscles and joints through their full range, and it absolutely has me feeling ready to run again on Tuesday. So
yeah, for sure. I love that. And I think it definitely works with some runners. I would say more intermediate to advanced runners that works for. And some runners really need a full rest day or 2 full rest days to feel healthy and complete. But I think at the end of the day with strength training, when you're in a training cycle, one of the best things you can do with strength training is like leaving the gym feeling better than when you walked in. So like Chris from Kinesis here in Boulder, who trains a lot of pro athletes, he's been part of the team calls before, and he'll talk about how he trains his athletes with an hour session, and sometimes they have to go run a double after it. He's not destroying them in the gym. He's doing just enough to break down that muscle for it to rebuild, but they're still able to go out and run a double later that day or right after that session if they need to. So it's really, really important that you're not, when you're in a training cycle, you're not destroying yourself in the gym. Now, I think there are a lot of benefits when you're in a season of speed or you're not in a marathon training cycle where you can lift heavier and kind of build that muscle so you can recruit those muscles and lean into that a little bit more and have it carry you through your half or marathon training season. Well, I think you guys know I love Epsom salt baths. That's a great recovery tool. 20 minutes is all you need. You can do it the night before a workout. You can do it the night of a workout. Like if you run a workout on Wednesdays, you can do it Wednesday night, Tuesday night, before, after a long run, super beneficial. I love the recovery boots. It's like definitely a perk. It's a really nice thing to have. But the boots kind of give a lot of TLC to blood flow and to your muscles. And I always feel super refreshed getting out of the boots. So those are really nice to have if you have them. I know some running stores will offer like boot sessions if you don't have the Normatec boots. But they have like the little travel boots that are great just to like use. You can walk around in them, which is great for me because it's like really hard. I know parents say this all the time. I hear this from people who have them, who also have kids. They're like, I can't find time to sit in them, which I get. I also feel that way. So like the travel boots are great because they just like fit on your calf and you can just like walk around and get things done at the same time. So I like those two things for sure. The strength training, the mobility work is huge. The sleep for sure is like the biggest driver. But again, it all depends, right? Joe's like, oh no, I don't get any sleep. Joe has four kids and life is busy. But you do well off of not getting a lot of sleep, Joe. So we can focus in on all the other areas.
I like to think I could do better without them.
I know, but they're so cute. They join our calls and everything. They're so cute.
Yeah, the baby joins us a couple times.
The baby joins us. Yeah, she's 3. So cute. Yeah. So, okay. Anyone else want to share like recovery, anything that's helped them that could help the team?
I mean, I also find just doing like some stretching and foam rolling throughout the day helps a lot too. Like I've got, various niggles that are always going on. So just every hour, every couple hours, and make sure I stand up and stretch for a couple of minutes and do some foam rolling seems to help a lot.
Yeah, I think that is awesome. And it really doesn't take a lot of time. So something that I've noticed when I visit my sister and brother-in-law is like, we'll be in the living room talking and my brother-in-law will just like pull out a foam roller and just start foam rolling as he's talking to us. And it's like, it's actually kind of genius because it's like, you get to participate in, in quality family time while also stretching and making your body feel better. So it's like it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look, a specific way. It could be 1 to 2 minutes a day or 3 times a week or once a week. But I think when you do start to add in more recovery tips and just be more active on what you're doing with your recovery and passive, but like you're just more thoughtful with your recovery, you're going to feel the benefits and it's just going to be a domino effect of like wanting to continue to do it.
Yeah, and I find there's a real balance too between like it'll feel good to like just sit down for a while and not move and let my legs rest, but then like things will just start to get too tight, so I've got to move around a little bit and foam roll. So that's kind of back and forth I'm dealing with all day since I have a sitting job.
That is also a master's lifestyle, Will. That is a master's life right there. It's like, oh my gosh, you sit down too soon after a workout, you are like gonna be pretty tight for the rest of the day. I mean, I've been going to yoga once or twice a week, and that was something I ended up doing last summer when my plantar fasciitis was pretty bad, and I felt like it was helping my foot quite a bit because I was stretching out my calf. So even taking like a yoga class online, I've brought a yoga instructor in on a team call before. It's all very, very beneficial. I think I brought in Amy for the January call. And that's on our YouTube channel. You can go back and you can take that class anytime you want just by watching the recording. So a lot of value there, but also just a lot of practical ways that you can get it done. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that's one of the most important things to remember. It can look and be very different from what other people are doing every single week. Just as long as you feel good and you feel supported in your training. Cool. Anything else?
I was gonna add one thing about has been helping me. So I like Tailwind for like electrolytes during a run, but they also have this new recovery protein powder. And normally protein powder doesn't have carbs because people don't want carbs in their protein.
Right.
So, but the Tailwind one has 20 grams of protein
And it also has carbs. It is just pure sugar, but it's carbs. And
Oh,
then they have
cool.
electrolytes as well. So for after a speed workout and a long run, I make that and blend it and then add a banana. And then I also add spinach because there's like leafy greens have extra compounds that help you recover. And I actually do it with soy milk too for more protein. But I think most runners tend to not get enough carbs right after hard runs, especially speed workouts and long runs. Like they kind of just go, especially speed workouts. I feel like you just go about your day and like kind of act like it's a normal day. I know some of us
Mhm.
are running like 12 miles on a speed workout. So I think that helps just top you off, and then you still need to eat a meal, but
Yeah.
it just helps like get ahead of it.
Oh,
So I
I love
recommend that
that.
one.
I love that. And the feed probably has all of this. Like the feed
Yeah.
is a great resource. It has all the gels, all the drink mixes. And what's so great is you can buy individual products to test things out, see what works, see what doesn't work. They are local. I think they're just right outside of Boulder. I know my shipments come in within a day. I'm assuming, like, Nicole, if you're ordering from San Diego, do you order from the feed?
For Tailwind, I'm actually an ambassador, so I order
Oh,
it from them, but I do order from
okay.
the feed for other things.
How long does it take to get your products, like once you place an order?
I don't know. That's a good
Oh,
question. I don't
yeah.
notice.
Okay. Yeah.
Sarah, I order from the feed. I'd say it probably takes, I don't know, 5 to 7 days, but
Oh, it
I
does.
needed more gels before my long run and before um just for the marathon coming up. And it was like 10 extra bucks and it came in 3 days. So, but
Okay.
it usually takes about a week to get
It does take
to me.
longer. I was
Yeah.
wondering about that. Yeah, because I know they went through shipping issues like a year and a half ago. Even locally, it was taking like a long time. Will and John might remember. There's a lot of conversation in the local WhatsApp thread about it. But I'm okay. Cool. All right. Does anyone have any questions, any comments? Anything else that they want to share?
Yeah, I was going to ask Nicole, is that the Tailwind recovery mix that you like?
The recovery, yeah. And you can get it individual packets too. So I even bring it to a race and put it in my check bag, which is nice.
Oh, that's
Okay.
nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, but it looks like it's real sugar and not sweetener, which is a bonus to me.
Yeah, it's real pure sugar.
Nice.
Just
Love
right to
it.
the veins. But like I always tell people, I'm like, don't worry about like, it's not going to make you fat. You're literally just going to eat it and it's going to absorb right into your muscles. So
Right.
it's not a bad thing. I don't recommend taking that drink like in the afternoon when you haven't just worked out. Like I do a different protein for that. But for post-workout, it's perfect.
Yeah, kind of like the scratch recovery mix, Will. I feel like that's very similar. It has like the protein, the carbohydrates, the sugar, and that's a good one too. I know a lot of the local team really likes that one. I think if anyone's looking for more information specifically on nutrition, there are on the Elevate Your Running YouTube channel, all of the info sessions over the last 6 years of coaching are there. And there are registered dietitians that have come in and talked about carb loading, carbohydrates, protein, and also the podcast is a great resource. Like Megan came in, I know it was January of 25 to talk about protein for runners. And that was, I don't know what episode that was off the top of my head, but we're at 218. So minus maybe 60. So maybe around 150, 160. Episode 150, 160 of the podcast. That's a great one to review. And of course, there's other podcasts with registered dietitians too. Learn a little bit more on fueling and fueling well and what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Nicole also has a program for runners and being able to be their strongest self while in training. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining today. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again next month. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'll email you.
So yeah, have a good one.
Thanks,
Cool.
Sarah. See you,
Oh my
everybody.
gosh, thanks, John.
Bye.
Ashley, are you still on?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay, that's
I'm
okay. Let me hang on just a second. I need to stop recording. And oh, here we go. It's like delayed. Hang on. Why won't it? There we go. Okay. Stop.